All right, y'all, come on in. Okay, come on in. Come on in and share this what's with a young lady that's looking for her Boaz. All right, come on in. Let me turn this other light on. Y'all, this is the introduction to this. I've had so many young women, and I've heard it so many times. Come on, that they're looking for their Boaz or they're waiting on their Boaz. And I want you all to share. Let me get myself together here. I'm trying to get myself straight here on tonight. This is the introduction to a series that I'm going to be doing. Okay. So you want your Boaz. You want your Boaz. And that's a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing that you want the man of God to find you. But what is your position? What position that you're in for him to find you? All right? You have to be in a position for him to find you. We're going to be talking about what Ruth didn't tell you. All right? What she didn't tell you and the position she was in. And we're going to continue to talk about it and continue to talk about it until some of my sisters and some of the young lady get it. There's a position Ruth was in for Boaz to find her. Okay? There was a position she was in. You know? And so I just came to just introduce that to you. So you want your Boaz, the real and the raw. What Ruth didn't tell you. So if you're here, you're listening in, say hello. I did a sound check. Okay. So I had to do my sound check. The sound check is good. All right. And I want you to share this. Share this out. And I hear so many young women say that. I'm waiting on my Boaz. Looking for my Boaz. I'll be glad when my Boaz come. But it's position. It's the position that you're in for him to come. And so I'm not going to be out here long. I just want to introduce you to this series that I'm going to be doing on Thursday nights. And I'm going to be talking from my own personal life. I'm going to be talking from my own personal position. First of all, I met my husband in the church 42 years ago. And in the church, we still stand. In the ministry, we still stand. And so during those 42 years, I've encountered some things and I've learned some things. And I want you to know that after he finds you, the position that you're in or you will be in, for him to find you, and the bliss is there and the excitement is there, do you still position yourself? Do you still stay in position? Or do you get frustrated, angry, and then you start saying, no, this ain't God. No, Now, I'm going to say this. I don't believe in no man or no woman putting hands on each other. I don't believe in that. I did not encounter that in my 42 years. And so my stand on that is when a person start doing that, putting their hands on you, please exit. Exit. It's because I don't believe that no one should be treated in that kind of way. So now let's move forward. What Ruth didn't tell you. Let me tell you about me. Let me explain to you about my 42 years. Let me explain to you. And when I begin to read the story, I'm beginning to say, okay. When I hear people say they're looking for their Boaz, when I hear someone saying they want to get married and they're looking for their man to God and all of that, when I hear that, immediately in my spirit is, what position are you in for him to find you? And then when he finds you, are you yet willing to work? And if you're not working, you will be working. It's wonderful. I believe once they got, it was wonderful. They had a child. Ruth and Boaz had a child. And the legacy of Jesse and David. And oh, it was wonderful. But there was some work. There was some work had to be put in. There was some patience had to be put in. There were some things that on the other side of Boaz finding her and her and Boaz coming together and them having a child, that's when the story ends. But what Ruth didn't get to tell you was after that, there was work. Now, I don't know the history of did they ever stay together or anything. But because I hear a lot of women say they're looking for their Boaz, then I begin to say, well, what are you really looking for in Boaz? Are you looking for the wealth? What is it that you want from Boaz? Or do you have this image in your head of stuff you want Boaz to do, not realizing that there's a position for you? Okay? So you want your Boaz? The real and the raw. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Y'all share this. Share this with some ones that you think would love to hear this. You know, share this. Share this with some people you think will love to hear this. Some people who, and if you're serious about that, what position are you in? Okay. Now, I remember being 14 years old. I remember being 14 and I remember being in service, and the man of God said to the women in the church, who want to get married? And at 14, my hand went up. And he said, they laughed, saying, Sister Cheryl, it's okay. You can put your hand down, baby, because your time will come. At 14. Yeah, at 14, I raised my hand because I wanted to get married. I didn't want no boyfriend. I didn't want no man. I didn't want anything. I wanted a husband at 14. Now, why I wanted a husband, I had no idea, because I had no idea what I was asking for. I just felt, okay, the word of God says, you know, you need a husband, have a husband. I wanted a husband. So at 14, that's what I did. I raised my hand. So moving on from there, I was a praise and worship leader. I was a praise and worship leader in my church. Because at that point, after he said that, okay, I was life progressing on. Now, one thing, my mother did not let me date. So, okay, all right then. I wasn't having a boyfriend. She wasn't having it. 18. Before she allowed me to even talk to anyone. And that was 18 after high school. And I had mentors, spiritual mentor, the spiritual mother, Dr. Paulette Jones Olosigi, that was in my ear. And I thank God for that woman of God today. And I also had a spiritual father that told me, Cheryl, don't give away the milk. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I was always groomed to not just have a boyfriend, not just a man, And I know sometimes we say, well, we got to let our daughters, date. And well, that is your choice. That's your choice. And I'm not saying you're making a wrong choice. I'm just saying make sure you study and you be on top of it. Okay? You're on top of what's what. If you allow that. Like I said, my life, mother did not allow it. 18. And so at that point, I really didn't press the issue. But at 19, in the church, praise and worship. I did praise and worship. I was on the praise and worship team. That's all I knew. That's what I was doing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So now was I looking for a husband at that? Yes, I was still looking for a husband. But I didn't press the issue of a boyfriend. I didn't press the issue of, and I know these days and times are totally different. So at 19, while I'm doing praise and worship, my husband came into the church. And we both were saved. But I wasn't looking for him. He found me. You see that difference? Even when he came in, I know he was there, but I wasn't looking for him. But I was doing praise and worship. So when I think about the story of Ruth and Boaz, I realize, what position are you in when you're looking for your Boaz? When you say, I'll be glad when my Boaz find me. What position are you in? I didn't do anything to really make him notice me. I did praise and worship. That's what I did. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I really was. But just like Naomi saw what about Boaz and began to minister to her about getting his attention and what, I believe that happened to me. I remember my spiritual father calling me to the organ because he was an awesome organist. Dr. Apostle Bill Gilbert, awesome organist. And he was the pastor. Calling me up there, and he asked me, how did I feel about my husband? I said, he all right. And I meant that. He was all right, because I was not looking at that time I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, praise and worship. But in some kind of way, my pastor, he positioned me for us to start talking. He positioned me. Just like Naomi positioned Ruth. I believe Ruth did not go to the fields looking for Boaz. She didn't go there looking. She went there to do what she knows she needed to do while she was in Naomi's life, to take care of her, to make sure she was good. She went there to work. She went there to provide. So how are you positioning yourself for your Boaz to find you? You know? And I did a thing on Ruth and Boaz. And I said, tell me the story about them. What was it about them? Why do women feel like they're looking for their Boaz? What was going on? First of all, you got to understand that Ruth never followed Naomi to find a husband. She didn't position herself in Naomi's life to get a husband or to get a man or to that wasn't her concern. And sometimes when women say, I'm waiting on my Boaz to find me, your focus is too much on Boaz instead of doing what God says do, instead of doing the work of the ministry and allowing him to find you. You got to understand, when Ruth went to the fields, she went there because she needed to take care of her and her mother-in-law. She went there to work. She went there to make sure that they were good. And because she was working, she wasn't looking around the field like, where he at? But what he looked like? Well, she had no inkling of Boaz. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know nothing about him. What she went to how she positioned herself was to take care of her responsibility as who she was in Naomi's life. How are you positioning yourself for Boaz to find you? How? So you want your Boaz, the real? How are you positioning yourself? And I'm trying to say, in my life, when my husband found me, when he finally, I really seriously was not looking for a husband. I wanted one, but I wasn't looking. There's a difference to want one, and then you out here looking, and you think you gotta put yourself in their face. No, you don't have to put yourself in their face. That's it. And I did not do that. Ruth did not put herself in Boaz's face. She didn't. She was watching them in the field, and she began to glean from what was left. She began to get the scraps, and she began to work to make sure that her and Naomi had something to eat, that her mother-in-law, come on, was good. Position yourself. How are you positioned? Are you positioning yourself to do what God says and how God, or are you positioning yourself to be seen? She didn't position herself to be seen. In fact, the way she was doing it, she was not trying to be seen, because she was way in the back. So that tells me she was just trying to get the scraps and, make sure they had enough and not bother nobody, not bother the workers, not do that. But she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, making sure her responsibility as far as who she was, how she had positioned herself in, how God had positioned her in Naomi's life. You understand? Her and Naomi have been through some things. They done been through some things and been through some stuff. And so you want your Boaz, the real and the raw, what Ruth didn't tell you. That's what we're going to be talking about in this series. So you want your Boaz. Then we're going to talk about after she got with Boaz. Now, I know the story ends with her having the son. That's what it ends with, her giving him a son. But it ends there. But if you want your Boaz, are you ready? Because after the happiness and the glitz and the glamour, and everybody is happy for you, then what? Do you continue with your Boaz? Do you stand strong? Do you become an Esther? Do you stand your ground? Do you minister even in the midst of you can lose something? Come on. I've been married 42 years. And I've been married 42 years and in the house of God, not outside the house of God. Me and my husband started in the ministry 42 years ago, and we still stand in the ministry today. In fact, we grew together in ministry. We grew together in life. And if the enemy had his way, we would not be together. But it took some determination. It took some purpose. It took for God to put a Naomi in my life. I thank God. One night I want to have my spiritual mother and mentor on here that kind of helped me stay in position. There were so many times I wanted to get out of position. But I had a spiritual mentor that kept me in position, that reminded me of my position, that reminded me, and not also that, and I had to look at I couldn't look at the struggles. I couldn't look at the warfare. I couldn't look at but I had to be reminded of my position. Ruth was positioned in Boaz's life for a purpose. Any woman of God, when your husband comes into your life, there's a position you got to be in. And I truly believe that when God positioned us, so first of all, you got to realize, did you find him or did he find you? And then what was the foundation for the relationship? Our foundation was the Lord. My husband was saved. I was saved. He was young. We were young. Yeah, we went through some stuff. Yeah, there's some ups and downs. Yes, all of that. And I believe Ruth realized she had to position herself, but she listened to Naomi on how to position herself in order for the promise to come to pass. Because she was placed there for a reason. And it wasn't what she did to get Boaz's attention. It was because she was ordained in position. And it wasn't that she did it. See, and I think that's what happens when we say we want our Boaz and then we put ourselves. No, she used wisdom. And she listened to someone who gave her some wisdom. One thing I realized, when God positioned you for Boaz, it ain't about your hips and your lips and your dip. It's not about that. It was about what she was doing, work. She was working. Therefore, when he saw her and he saw her character and he saw her heart and he saw her loyalty to her mother-in-law, that caught his attention. Of course, Ruth was gorgeous, but that wasn't what caught his attention. Okay? It wasn't her slick mouth or a slick talk or a slick walk. It was her position. I was reading, and this is what they said. They said, Boaz noticed Ruth because of her hard work, her kindness toward Naomi, and her good reputation. Come on. Those are your loyalty, your hard work, your kindness, and your reputation. Now, when I did praise and worship, I did praise and worship. When it was yeah. And I wasn't doing praise and worship to get no attention. I did praise and worship to enter the presence of the Lord into the house. Ooh, that was that someone be set free and delivered. That we might experience the presence of God. That's why I did it. Because like I told you, I was not looking. I was 42 years of marriage. I was not looking. I really wasn't. But I know the foundation of me being married 42 years, it was how God positioned me. And I had to always be reminded of that position. And then once Ruth got with Boaz, there was a purpose for her to serve. And it wasn't about her. Do you understand? It wasn't about her. Although, sure, I know he took good care of her. But I also know that they always didn't see eye to eye. So sometimes we go in this fairy tale that it's going to be, just blessed and highly favored and wonderful. No, I believe there was days she didn't understand and days he didn't understand. But it was to position. That's it. So you want your Boaz, the real and the raw. The real, not the fairy tale, not not the real. The real, because it's ordained for a purpose. The real. Not you thinking it's going to be all about you, but the purpose. Marriage is about purpose. Sure, you want to be taken care of. Sure, you want to, but it's about the purpose. What did God say? Whom God has joined together, let no man put asunder. The purpose. So we're going to be talking about that on Thursday nights at 7. I want you to join me. I'm also setting up where we can all go to Google Chat, be on the camera, and you ask me questions that you may want to hear. I'm telling you, there was a purpose. And when people think about that, when they think about Ruth and Boaz, they get this fairy tale feeling about relationships. Like he gonna find her, and he just gonna take care, and it was just, no. There was purpose behind Boaz finding Ruth. Because it says here that Ruth and Boaz had a son named Obed. Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David. And out of the loins of David, Jesus came forth. So there was a purpose. And I think once you realize it's just not about a marriage that just was, it's about a purpose. Boaz had to play his role, and he had to be positioned, and Ruth had to be positioned. And once we realize that marriage is about how God positions, we'll be okay. And it's not this fairy tale. Of course. Yes. Of course we want to be loved. Of course we want to be taken care of. Of course. But it's also about standing in the battle together. It's also about standing strong. And when I am weak, he is strong. And when he is weak, I am strong. That's what it's about. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of days that Ruth had to minister to Boaz, and not just in the bedroom. Well, come on now. And Boaz had to minister to Ruth, and it was not just in the bedroom. You understand? So, we're going to talk about the real and the raw. Yeah, but their union served a purpose. Our union serves purpose. It serves purpose. I look at my life and I know if it had not been for the journey, the woman of God that I am today, I would not have been. It served purpose. The man of God that I married, I look at him, if I had not been there, sure, God could have used someone else. Sure, in my life as well. But our union serves a purpose. So, you want your Boaz? That means you're willing to work. I thought about it. Ruth had to go down to the ground. She was pulling up the scraps, the pieces. She was not up looking around, fixing her makeup, batting her eyes. She was not doing none of that to get Boaz's attention. She was doing what God ordained for her to do concerning Naomi and herself. You gotta understand, she had lost her husband. You know? But she didn't leave her purpose. She began to serve Naomi. She positioned herself. She positioned herself for Boaz to find her. Well, she allowed God to position her, you know? And so we're going to be talking about that in this series. This is just my introduction. I just want you to know we're going to be talking about different topics in this. So you want your Boaz, the real and the raw. What Ruth didn't tell you. So what Ruth didn't tell you, Apostle Cheryl Burke will tell you after walking it out 42 years, and I continue to walk it out until God says different. Take us home. That's it. But it served purpose. Woo! Like I said, I would love to have my Naomi to come. I see how she talked and how she, oh my goodness. And you gotta understand, Naomi had lost her husband. She didn't have a husband. But she knew what to tell Ruth to do to position herself for Boaz. I'm gonna have to call her tomorrow. Call my mentor and say, okay, now I need you on this series with me. So you want your Boaz, the real and the raw. And I believe that is a blessing. It is that you don't understand that God uses you in marriage. He uses you to strengthen one another. He uses you as an example to the world that the two can become one. He uses that. But he also lets us know in his word that the enemy is not for family and he's not for marriage. He's not for it. But the foundation has to be God. And it has to be how he's positioned you. And you may not always like your position, but you yield to the position. You may not always like your position, but yield to the position. Like I said, I don't believe in no person putting hands on each other. Walk away and let God deal with the situation until God tells you what to do. But I truly believe that some of the other things that we may encounter in marriage And we may encounter in relationships. Come on. Got to get us through it. Because it serves a purpose. So, you want your Boaz? Get ready to serve a purpose. I'm going to go. I just want to introduce this series to you. Y'all share this with some young ladies that may be looking, for God to bless them. But one thing I'm going to say, don't you go looking for your Boaz. Allow Boaz to find you. But remember, it's your position. It's your position. Remember, your focus is God's work and what He has ordained for your life. And I promise you, God's will, your Boaz will find you. But you know what Ruth could not do? She couldn't bring her past into a relationship with her and Boaz. We're going to talk about that too. All right. All right. This is Apostle Cheryl Berg, and this is the series. So you want your Boaz? The real and the raw. Y'all join me next Thursday at 7 p.m. All right. Y'all be blessed.